Hello everyone and welcome to another Wild Edibles episode, where today we'll be taking a quick, broad look at some common tree nuts you would find in a forest. So I will be doing in-depth videos of each tree I talk about here. However, I did want to get this video out of the way first, because this deals with more of the survival aspect of things. In general, trees as wild edibles have a couple problems, most notably that they are incredibly tall, and unless you can see the leaves, which in case I actually can right there, that's an oak tree, oak leaves, you're going to have to go based on bark. And why not just skip all that, because you can't actually get to the nuts at top. Why not just identify it based on what you can find on the forest floor? Now, I say this is more for the survival aspect of things because nuts on the forest floor are not of the greatest quality. Now, for survival, that's fine. You need to survive. You're not doing this for fun. You can crack 100 of them. You have the time. And if you find 5 or 6 acorns that are palatable, that look fine, that are safe to eat, that's better than nothing. But for foraging, just for fun, it's not really recommended to forage off the forest floor when it comes to especially acorns. And speaking of which, these are acorns. Now, a lot of times, these are the heads, that is the sort of nut. A lot of times when they fall, they'll break apart, but it's pretty easy to identify them even without the tops. They look like acorns. People generally know what acorns look like, which is why they make a good survival food, because you don't really need any training to identify them. One of the main downsides, however, is that they really need to be boiled in a couple changes of water to be palatable. The next common nut I'd like to quickly talk about is the hickory nut. Now, these are very closely related to pecans, and they taste very similar. And as a result, these squirrels absolutely love them. You can see all the bits of shell and husk that they've been going through trying to get at them. And, you can see, if you can imagine one of these, this is a quarter of the husk, not the inner shell, but the husk, and it makes sort of like a round shape. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one. The squirrels had all gotten to them, but if you can imagine that, but a sphere, that's essentially what a hickory nut looks like. And they're good eating if you can find them. Squirrels typically make that difficult. And lastly, we have the black walnut. Now, this sort of blurs the line between foraging and survival. This doesn't make a very good survival food because making them palatable and shelf-stable is a long process. It actually takes weeks. But if you were starving and determined, or if you knew you were going to need to survive for a very long time, these would be a decent food source. Especially when you consider that the trees they come on tend to make a lot of them, and they are quite big. I don't know if you can see that. You'll see those better. They're almost the size of, actually scratch that, they're not almost the size of apples, they are the size of apples. Now, the nut inside is not quite as big, but they are pretty substantial nuts. Well, I hope you all enjoyed. As I said before, I will be making in-depth videos on all of these wild edibles, so stay tuned for those in the future. Hope you all enjoyed. See ya.